Hello, podcast listeners. We've got some exciting news, so hold on to your socks because this episode of JJ Meets World is coming to you from a brand new space. Enjoy. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Tucker, we are inside of the new JJ Meets World studios.
I thought it smelled different.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It smells different. It's exciting. We've taken a new space. I believe this is our largest space yet. I mean, I'm looking at the square footage, and
I think so.
You know, we had that one room at the Arts Partnership that was really long and had that weird side room, but I think that this is our largest room yet.
I think 4 of those could have fit in this room.
Right. Based on the number of fluorescent lights above us when it comes to office spaces.
And assuming the pillar isn't there.
Right. But I do like there's a giant pillar, not in the center of the room, enough off center that it feels like it separates it into a nook.
Hashtag name the pillar.
Hashtag name the pillar. And it can't be Tucker.
No, it can't be JJ.
I can't have 2 Tuckers in here. It can't happen.
I don't want another one here unless they're a golden retriever. No other Tuckers are allowed.
I like that. This is an exciting moment for us to have this new studio space. I'm not going to divulge where it is yet. People will find out as time goes on. And you're currently sitting in a camp chair, and I'm sitting on a piece of office furniture. And that's how we are hosting this episode. It might seem a little echoey, but that will dissipate as we get the space more to where it needs to actually be. I'm always excited when we move into a new space because Tucker is a fan of painting things.
Oh my God, yeah.
Always has been, always will be. I am a fan of finding like just the right decor for it. And since the last time we decorated a studio, I've gotten really good at Facebook Marketplace. So...
Do you want to talk me through some of your thoughts of what's happening in this room?
Okay, yes.
Just real quick.
So this piece of furniture came for free with it, was included. I had to negotiate for this, and this was the hardest thing. And they said, listen, we want $1,500 a month. And I said, done, but I got to have that furniture. And then he was about to say, but that's already included. And I'm like, fine, $1,600, but I'm not budging on losing this piece of furniture. That's a master negotiating tactic right there. There's a wall here that is like a wine red color, and the pillar matches. We're going to paint some walls. We're going to get those things that go over fluorescent lights that kind of diffuse it and make it look like a sky or earth tones. You know what I kind of want the vibe for this to be? What was the name of the mountain? Is it Death Mountain in Legend of Zelda? I think it is.
I don't know.
I think Death Mountain, where the rock people live.
You want to call this place Death Mountain?
Yeah. It's a good name for it, right? Death Mountain? I think Death Mountain's a great for a podcast studio.
Why not Mount Doom?
Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to confirm that it was Death Mountain in that thing. Death Mountain. Maybe it wasn't Death Mountain. That'd be a weird thing to name in the Legend of Zelda, a game made for kids, right?
By the way, we this is our first time here in the space recording. We were setting up all morning, and we would have recorded this morning, but we have neighbors.
We do.
We have lovely neighbors.
It is Death Mountain, just so you know.
Not our neighbors. The Death Mountain is the name of the mountain in Legend of Zelda.
Not the name of the church that is across the hall from us.
Yep.
And the church has drums and a speaker and is very lively. And so we will not be... We've gotten into this kind of world where we record on Sunday mornings. Mm-hmm. And so we'll either have to record early Sunday mornings or Sunday afternoon. But we have also thought maybe we should just observe. We love to
observe
the
the Sabbath. It's our Bay of Rest. So we're going to try to rest on those days. But you can still expect brand new episodes of JJ Meets World every Monday.
Recently, I was chatting with someone who told me what his drag name would be if he were to do drag, and it is one of the best. All beef patty. Isn't that a great drag name?
That's a great one.
I was like, let's go.
That's
let's
solid.
get this going. Let's tour you across the nation right now.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
I was recently thinking to myself, I really am mad that this documentary about John Candy came out.
Mad is
I'm
how
mad
you feel.
Because
Really?
all of you posers are pretending like you've loved John Candy for the last 50 years. And people are saying, oh, yeah, and I love John Candy, and I love the Bear movie. And I'm like, you mean The Great Outdoors? The Great Outdoors, directed by Howard Deutsch. That one? And it drives me nuts because that so many people watch that documentary, and I'm glad that there's an appreciation for it. But it feels hollow in a way that just because someone grabbed like the Wikipedia page and like, ooh. Because, he was born on Halloween.
What about
John Candy?
What about the documentary itself?
It's great. It's out of this
great.
world.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I can see exactly why people do love it because it does tell you a different story. And the thing that people come and talk to me the most about with it is like, oh, I didn't know that his, the weight was such a big thing and that his personal like weight gain became such a huge part of who he was. And I'm like, well, absolutely. And even we see that with modern day celebrities, like when you see a celebrity who slims down and then people are like, oh, Jonah Hill's not as funny anymore, right? Rebel Wilson looked better when she was bigger. And I do find that to be an interesting kind of conundrum. Don't you? Like where they're like, oh, you have to stay chubby to be lovable.
Right. They're treating you like you're just this form of the product that they're used to getting.
Bingo, right? So I'm not a huge fan of that, but John Candy does a great job, and they show several clips in the documentary of him shutting down reporters who are asking about his weight. If you haven't watched it yet, it's I Like Me is the title of the documentary. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's primo. And hopefully it'll get more people to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I was going to ask you and then guess that was the answer, was what is John Candy's greatest performance?
I
was thinking it might be Planes, Trains because of I Like Me. That whole
the
monologue.
speech that he gives.
Surprisingly early in the movie, by the way.
Oh, it's in the first third of the movie.
I remember that really surprising me at that time. But
I also I viscerally remember watching that movie for the first time ever and having the realization like, oh my God, like the big reveal at the end. And I'm not going to say it because there might be people who've never seen it. And it gutted me. And you think to yourself, this is a movie I have laughed at so hard for so long. And by the way, without being crass, neither of these guys trip into a bunch of pig manure at any point. No, they don't have to have like a scene on the plane where the old man is farting next to them. It was comedy that felt so real. And that was the thing I loved the most about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, when you say John Candy's best performance, right, I think it's hard to quantify because, and I've said this before, John Candy made a career out of playing unlikable characters. I'm not talking about villains. I'm talking about his whole persona was playing these characters who on paper are horrific. No one wants to get stuck next to Del Griffith on a plane. It's like you should feel for for Steve Martin. Nobody wants Buck to be their uncle. Nobody wants to ride in the back of a panel truck on Christmas Eve with a guy who left his kid at a funeral home for hours. Everything about Gus Polinski, even the fact that he plays the clarinet, right? They make these choices, but all of these things about him are so cringe and grate the back of the hair on your neck. But he plays them and he's so lovable. So you're mad at Steve Martin when Steve Martin attacks him in Planes, Trains. You are mad at the eldest daughter, Tia, when she tells him what a piece of garbage he is in Uncle Buck. And you realize like this guy doesn't have to come here to take care of you kids. And he doesn't know how to do it, but he's doing the best that he possibly can, right? I love the fan theory that in Home Alone he is the devil, and this is like Satan's trick, like to be like, all right, I'll get you home, but it's gonna cost you, lady. It's gonna cost you. I was reading a piece of fan fiction that they were originally going to write a role for him in Home Alone 2. And that when she's running around New York City trying to find Kevin, Gus comes out of like a place where he and his polka band had been playing Christmas Eve stuff.
Right.
And she's like, oh my God, it's you again. And he was gonna he and the polka boys would be like, let's spread out, boys. And they would help cover the city of New York. And I'm like, oh God, do I wish the Kenosha Kickers would have been in Home Alone too.
Yeah.
Also, this is totally unrelated, and I'll get back to also something that I think you probably should be your favorite SCTV bit of all time. But Tim Curry was just on CBS Saturday Morning. And Tim Curry, I'm known for Rocky Horror Picture Show, Muppet Treasure Island, Home Alone 2, Clue. I mean, Legend with Tom Cruise. He's just an amazing dude.
Muppet Treasure Island.
He's one of the best, right? I always talk about the best two people who've ever been, human beings in Muppet movies should be between Michael Caine in Christmas Carol and Charles Grodin in Great Muppet Caper, because the way he makes his lust for Miss Piggy is so amazing. But really, Tim Curry does an amazing job with it too, where he keeps his performance just slightly below cartoonish. And so he matches the energy of the Muppets in a way I don't think any other human performer does in any other Muppet movie. But so he had a stroke 13 years ago. I don't know if you know this, but he lost all of his speech. He wasn't able to walk anymore, and he's still in a wheelchair, but his speech has improved dramatically. And he was being interviewed because he has a new book coming out called Vagabond, which I can't wait to read. Can you imagine what Tim Curry's biography is going to be like? Oh my God, it's going to be amazing.
You're going to be reading it in his voice.
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to not hear his voice.
That calm, smooth British voice. Oh, you better believe it. In fact, I kind of feel like I'm going to, I'm full of anticipation for it. But my favorite SCTV sketch that I think kind of shows off the genius of John Candy and the kind of the daringness of SCTV is, if you're not familiar, SCTV was Second City's answer to Saturday Night Live. But instead of being a live show, these are all tape sketches about a fictional network that had so little money it could only broadcast for 90 minutes out of every day. And so it's about them making the shows plus clips from the shows, and included with that, they've got commercials for programming that's coming up. And it starts with this lonely harmonica and it's like a deserter for both the North and the South during the Civil War. He was known as Yellow Belly. And it's John Candy, and he's wearing this kind of Southern sort of Confederate outfit, and he's walking around, and he's and he's afraid of everything, and he doesn't want to see anybody, and he's just kind of walking down this old West Street, and a little boy and Catherine O'Hara walk by, and the little boy turns around and goes, "Hey Mom, I think that's Yellow Belly," and then they turn around and take a couple more steps, and John Candy pulls out this gun and shoots the kid in the back. And then Catherine O'Hara comes up and screams "You shot my son! You shot my son in the back! You really are gutless Yellow Belly!" And then he shoots her. And it's an ad for a movie called Yellow Belly that's coming out. And the whole thing is maybe 30 seconds long, and it is just genius. It's so good. Do you want to know a truth?
I want a dare.
Oh, you want a dare?
No, I want a truth.
I don't think that this cast of SNL is very good. I've watched a couple episodes this season, and when the bit players from the last couple of years are now your star players,
right,
you're in trouble. And they're not setting themselves up in a way that makes me feel like they're worthwhile. Now,
correct me if I'm wrong. SCTV is more of a Monty Python in
Absolutely.
that there's the team that makes up SCTV, and that's the cast.
Yep.
There's the cast of Monty Python versus SNL, which churns over every year and has a new cast every season and has since the 70s. The pressures are just so much different.
Yeah. It also, SCTV came from a place where Second City was all about writing, right? It was all about writing and making something great.
Yeah.
And they didn't have nearly the number of episodes that SNL does. And they didn't have, like, their turn, like, they could be writing for 2 months and have essentially write what SCTV is for a show for the whole season.
Right.
And so that's different. But every single person who is on SCTV comes from that Second City background, which is so heavy into writing and is so heavy into character development that I think that that's one of the things that really sets it aside and why those people have had such great careers. I mean, you look at everyone who is on SCTV, they went on to have great careers, and some of them massive successes, right? Where they can't walk down the street without being bothered. But some of them, like Joe Flaherty, Joe Flaherty had a great career, and he'd pop up and stuff left and right. And like, you know, you think of his little bit in Happy Gilmore where he steals a show, like says like, "Come on, shooter! You said we were going to be friends. We're going to go to the Sizzler, my treat." And even now, 30 years later, like it's still some of the best. Yeah, jackass. It's still some of the best stuff. And so I think Andrea Martin goes on to have a huge Broadway career, right? I mean, all those people go on to have great careers. And if you look at the cast of SNL, that is not true because there are plenty of people who don't go on to have success. And part of that is that churn out, right? Is that SNL has been going on for 50 years now. So how are you going to make it work?
In SCTV, were the performers also the writers?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing is that there's maybe not as much of that going on SNL. They're dividing that up. I mean, obviously it happens too. That's definitely in there.
Rick Moranis tells an amazing story about how like SCTV had no money and they shot it in Edmonton in Canada, and essentially they said like, listen, you can make this show, but you have to make it in this mid-sized town. Like you're not going to have all the big things, and like you get a TV studio for like 4 weeks, and you got to shoot the whole show. And so everything was done like on a shoestring, but everyone believed in it so much that they did such a great job. And literally they would be like, okay, listen, a community club did a play version of Hamlet. And so we're going to take chunks of their Hamlet set and reuse them here. And Rick Moranis tells an amazing story about how Dave Thomas had wrote this sketch about, it was a commercial for a butcher shop where the butcher looks like a pig. No, I'm sorry. Rick Moranis had written this thing about how he wrote a sketch about a butcher, but the butcher is a human, but he's got kind of like a pig nose and his ears are a little, and how messed up it is. And Dave Thomas comes into the makeup room and sees this and goes, I've got to be a part of this. Whatever this is, I've got to be a part of it. And so Rick Moranis, the day they're going to shoot, or the day before they shoot it, they're like, hey, makeup lady, could you make me look like a pig? And she's like, I need to have a picture of a pig in front of me. So he goes and gets an encyclopedia, gets a picture of a pig, picks her up 2 hours early during a snowstorm so they can get there and they get all the prosthetics put on. And so he and Dave Thomas have this reoccurring sketch where it's these two brothers who look like pigs who run a butcher shop. And in one of them, they do a parody of Deliverance, where they end up in the woods and someone says, I'm going to make you squeal like a human. And like, that's just kind of the brilliance of that thing. And it was just a ton of fun. Back to our space. I want to say something that I find to be very endearing about you that I did not know. You brought a vacuum cleaner today from the golden age of vacuum cleaners. You brought yourself a Kirby with the full stainless steel metal head to it.
Circa 1985.
Oh, God, that baby.
Year I was born. Yeah. I actually have two of them. I got a backup one for parts and stuff.
Yeah.
This was the vacuum that our family just had growing up. And at one point, my mom was like, hey, I'm just going to toss this unless you want it. I was like, are you kidding me? That's a vacuum made of metal.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
And like, you have to put a bag on it.
It's got a bag in it. Yeah, so a bag inside of a bag. The bags that went with it, like obviously they don't make those particular ones anymore. So I'm running out of the stock of bags that go with it.
Yeah.
But I'll figure out something to replace it.
I mean, that's the beauty nowadays. Like with Amazon, you can get a third party who, they're like, listen, there's enough people out there that if we make these once every 2 years, we're going to be good.
I mean, even if that, I could take a paper bag and tape it somehow and figure out some way to make it work.
Oh, I would love to see how you made a paper bag work for this.
I mean, it's a paper bag that's inside of it.
Like a grocery store paper
No,
bag?
I mean it's paper. It's probably got a little bit of more thickness to it, like a fiberiness to it. But it's a bag within a bag. So the bag you're seeing right there is covering the actual.
Yeah, well,
bag.
I know how vacuum.
I don't know.
cleaners work.
It sounded like you didn't for a second.
No, I do. I know
just
how
wanted to
vacuum
make
cleaners
sure.
work. This is how classically old of a vacuum it is. There's a plug-in on the vacuum. There's a plug that runs power to the handle, but then the handle's power doesn't go directly into the head of the vacuum itself. You have to plug that into a separate piece, which just delights me.
The suction power you get out of this thing, though, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, Kirby does it.
Yeah.
Kirby does it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the vacuum from the brave little toaster that goes with them out into the world. I have, we've got a Dyson at home only because, actually, so the last time I went to Best Buy to make a purchase was before the pandemic. I don't need what Best Buy has to offer anymore, right? And I got to the point of where I was so sick and tired of the people at Best Buy not knowing what they're talking about that I was like, nope, just count me out, man. Count me out. So
It's always the Ron Burgundy scene of I know more than you.
100%, right? Yeah. And then I remember going there and talking to one of their Mac specialists at one point and just being like, oh my God, I would rather chat with an AI bot than you right now. So they had a deal where they had an upright Dyson that was on sale for, they're like $500. It was on sale for like $350. But that weekend, you could buy any appliance and get 25% off the appliance. And then I had another thing that gave you another 5% off.
So you got 80% off.
Yeah, it was a great deal. It was an awesome deal. So I go in there and they ring it up and I'm like, oh, nope, that's not right because you've got this deal for any appliance. And they're like, I don't know what deal you're talking about. And so I have to show it to them. And I had already put it in my cart online so I could see the price.
Yeah.
And so I'm showing them this and they're like, this sale doesn't come up for us. And I was like, well, you should probably honor your website price, right? And so this ends up getting me involved with the manager. And so the manager comes over and they're doing this. And the manager then says I don't believe our website. And I said, well, that's not my problem. That's yours. He's like, we're going to lose money if we sell this to you at this price. And I was like, again, that's not my issue. This is, maybe you guys are getting rid of this to make room for another one that's going to come through. And so it takes me almost 2.5 hours to buy this vacuum cleaner, Tucker. But I was like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get my deal. I am going to own this space right here and now. And we still use that vacuum to this day, because I need a good vacuum that's going to suck. And I will say this, the Dyson vacuum really holds its own. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely. But Kirby, I think still, if you can get an old school Kirby made of metal.
Yeah.
I think that's the motor that's inside of that thing.
That's what they put on the space shuttle.
Yep. Yeah, you could kill a guy with this thing.
Oh, 100%. In fact, in the movie Maximum Overdrive, directed by Stephen King, I have to believe that that's one of the things. A vacuum cleaner kills someone.
At what point did the metal to plastic changeover probably happen? Probably the 90s.
Yeah,
probably 90s.
I think the 80s, because the 80s because the thing about a Kirby like that is it was great on shag carpeting.
Yeah, yep.
And I think we moved over to those low profile carpets, and people are like, this thing's really heavy. That's an era where people would have a vacuum on 2 floors. You'd have an upstairs vacuum and a downstairs vacuum. You would take that to a place like University Vacuum to get it serviced.
Yep.
And somewhere in the 90s, we were like, listen, vacuums can be more disposable, right? So we'll charge less for them. If they break down, no big deal. We're not going to put a bunch of stuff in there that you can fix. It's just going to be done. I remember having to find a belt for a vacuum cleaner, and I went to 6 hardware stores, appliance stores, and they're like, no one carries belts anymore. You're gonna have to order that offline.
Yeah.
And that also makes me feel sad when someone's like, you're just gonna have to get that offline nowadays. You're gonna have to go to the good old internet. You're gonna have to find yourself some Wi-Fi and get yourself something ordered. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna end up having to order 5 of them because I can't tell if it's the right size. And they're like, yep. And then they plan on that, and then you ship it back, and you're good to go.
You said something earlier I wanted to go back to. John Candy was born on Halloween?
On Halloween.
Really? So
Yeah.
John Candy's birthday is on its way.
Yeah.
It's
just
almost here.
this in a Halloween on a Friday this year.
Because this is, I guess, technically our Halloween episode.
It certainly is.
It is our Halloween episode.
Yeah.
I just read about Halloween being an Irish holiday.
Yeah, because he used to carve turnips.
Yeah.
Yeah, before jack-o'-lanterns, they carved turnips, which is just you Irish. You're like, listen, we improved it. A lot of things that the Irish did, they did perfect, and we carry them through to today. But a lot of things that you started, we improved
But
upon.
here's something I know about myself now, though. I am quantifiably more Scottish than I am Irish.
Oh, yeah?
I am. I'm
That's
like
exciting.
2% Scottish, 28% Irish, and then like another like 20% British, according to myheritage.com.
So what about the other 20%?
The rest of it's going to be a mixture of like German, French, Slavic, things like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you had myrrh in you. Like, those underwater dwelling.
The underwater people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, me, I'm just Scottish.
Yeah, no.
Just across the board.
Yeah, I've got
which
this-
is why I can throw a piece of timber like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I have the top half of a female mermaid and the bottom half of a male human.
Yeah, right? And you got the middle part of a pufferfish. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. I didn't tell Tucker this when we rented it, but this place is haunted, and it's haunted by an ancestor of his who wants nothing to do with him.